Welcome everyone, this is Karts and Coasters for Rollercoaster Tycoon Classic. The goal for this scenario is to have 1,000 guests by the end of year 3. The park already has 4 enormous rides with 2 wooden coasters and 2 go-karts. The stats are great for all 4 rides, but they are sprawling and dominate the map. I set the ticket cost to $10 for Timber Terror and $9 for Lumberjack and remove both go-karts. I pay off the starting loan and begin leveling terrain around the entrance. The landscape is greatly varied and can be difficult to work with in this scenario. On this patch of flat land, I built my signature junior coaster. To help offset the cost of editing the terrain, I set the ticket cost to $5 instead of the usual $3.50. Next, I lowered the hill in front of the park entrance by 2 units. This resulted in a decent-sized chunk of land for several flat rides and a restaurant. I placed down a carousel, with rotation set to 16 and a ticket cost of $1.50. The max loan for this scenario is only $20,000, so I'm a little more greedy with my ticket cost in this playthrough. With the information kiosk unlocked, I placed it at the entrance with $5 umbrellas and 10-cent park maps. Next, I built my first restaurant next to the carousel. Inside contains fries and drink stall with a restroom. Keeping up with my greediness, I increased the fries and drinks by 10 cents. Just behind the restaurant, I added a twist with the max rotations and a ticket cost of $2. Next, I cleared a bunch of path to the left side of the park. I began building a log flume, but came to the conclusion that Lumberjack had to go. I put the log flume on hold for a bit and continued doing work on the path layout. In this small valley, I added a haunted house with a ticket cost of $1.50. I kinda lost focus during this part of the playthrough. I knew I was going to remove Lumberjack and needed a high-capacity money-making ride to replace it, but here I am adding a Ferris wheel near the carousel. I set the ride facing the edge of the hill overlooking the pond below. I set the operating mode to backwards rotation with a ticket cost of $1.50. I finally made my way back to the log flume. The first half of the layout has a nice double down following the terrain. The second half has a larger drop diving underground. I set the ticket cost to $6 with $4 on-ride photos. The park is coming together nicely now, so I take time to decorate rides and finish the restaurant building. Next to the restaurant, I added a spiral slide, set to the max riders and a ticket cost of 80 cents. I really like this hilltop area. It's the central hub for the whole park. Next, I built a wooden coaster in the top left corner of the map. This is a terrain coaster with a good mix of hills and laterals. I only bank turns where the train is traveling too fast. A lot of real-world wooden coasters feature turns or curves that are underbanked or unbanked, which increases lateral forces. A real-life roller coaster famous for underbanked laterals is Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm. It's my personal favorite wooden coaster and the inspiration for this coaster's finale. I figured out the path connections and opened the coaster with a ticket cost of $9. I reworked the final turnaround for Timber Terror to make room for the path coming from the log flume. I also removed one of its trains as it seemed unneeded. Next to the new wooden coaster, I built a second restaurant. Inside contains fries and drink stalls with a restroom. Unfortunately, these are the only stalls I have to work with until I research more. I added more scenery and details and cleaned up the terrain around the wooden coaster. At the bottom left corner of the map, I added a mine train coaster. My main inspiration for how I lay out mine train coasters is Big Thunder Mountain at Disneyland. The layout consists of several brief coaster sections broken up by lift hills and block sections. I set the trains to 4 to help prevent any block checks and set the ticket cost to $8. This is a high-capacity roller coaster with a high ticket cost, so it brings in a lot of income. With that being said, I dropped the cost of all other rides and removed the last original. With Timber Terror removed, I could pay off most of my debt and begin building a dive machine. This coaster will have a small layout inspired by the real-life Oblivion at Alton Towers. I gave the coaster one extra element with a 450-degree spiral to the right. I opened the coaster with a ticket cost of $5. In the bottom right corner of the park, I added a station for a chairlift. I paused construction to place no entry signs on paths leading nowhere. I continued the chairlift over the park entrance, taking advantage of the strip of construction rights. I opened the chairlift and reworked the path connecting up to the junior coaster. The small body of water will be the location for my corkscrew coaster. I wanted the coaster to feature an underwater tunnel, similar to the real-life Anaconda at King's Dominion. Besides the large drop into the underwater tunnel, the rest of the layout is mostly copied from the corkscrew coaster I made in Factory Capers. The station was in a weird spot, so I had a little struggle getting the paths connected. I opened the coaster with a ticket cost of $5. Next, I added a third restaurant, and just like the others, inside contains fries and drink stalls with a restroom. Taking advantage of the strip of construction rights again, I added a monorail. This isn't a very large park, so I didn't think the streamline trains were appropriate. I selected the small monorail cars with 3 trains. With 2 stations and 3 trains, movement is constant with a low running cost. I opened the monorail a bit prematurely without having the second station connected. At the back of the park, I added a car ride set to pick up trucks. A significant chunk of the ride is underground, having a loose mine theme. Just above the car ride, I added an observation tower. The total tower height is 40 units tall. I also didn't make changes to the ticket cost for the last 2 rides, as I wasn't worried about money anymore. Now it's time to put the carts back into Karts and Coasters. This is a small layout with a lot of curves and short straight sections. The station is long, so there's 18 carts, which is kind of a lot for a track this small, but it's fun to watch in operation. I set the laps to 5 with a ticket cost of $4. Next, I added a suspended swinging coaster right next to the second station of the monorail. The ride both starts and ends with lift hills, similar to Ninja at Six Flags Magic Mountain. And also similar to Ninja, the ride hits its top speed in the middle of the layout. I don't use these that often, but I set the trains to airplanes. I opened the coaster with a ticket cost of $5. The entrance is in a weird spot behind its exit as well as the exit of the monorail. Next, I added a 4th restaurant next to the observation tower. Inside contains a burger bar and drink stalls with balloons and a restroom. And there you have it, completed the goal by only 53 guests. The scenario is a good bit of a challenge with its uneven terrain, but a lot of fun overall. This is normally where the video would wrap up, but there is still a good amount of work to be done for this park. The first thing I'm going to do post-goal is fix the landscape around the junior coaster. Next to the Ferris wheel, I added a bumper car with a 2-minute runtime. Across from the go-karts, I added a launched freefall. The tower is 20 units tall, launching upwards at 45 miles per hour, with a ticket cost of $3.50. and just next to it, I added a very small maze. After adding the mine theming around the mine coaster, I added a fifth restaurant. Inside contains pizza and drink stalls with a souvenir stall and restroom. Back by the wooden coaster, I replaced fries with hot dogs. Across from the log flume, I added a top spin, set to berserk mode. I added water fountains to the front of the ride to make it more exciting. Next, I added a swinging ship across from the junior coaster. I set the swings to 18 with a ticket cost of $2. Across from the maze, I added a drink stall and a popcorn stall. I built a little building around them that matches the entrance and exit of the go-karts. Then I added a pair of restrooms across from those stalls. Next, I added a cotton candy stall across from the log flume. Then I added a pretty ugly building facade around it. In the small plot of land between the top spin and the drop tower, I added a motion simulator set to thrill riders. I enclosed the ride with a building using Egyptian theme pieces. I added a Fruity Ices stall next to the bumper cars. I learned my lesson and didn't put an ugly facade around this one. The last ride I added for this park was a swinging inverter ship. With the paths connected, I set the swings to 12 and opened the ride. I'm pretty happy with how this park turned out, so let's move on to the coaster experiences. This has been Karts and Coasters. Thank you for watching, and please hold for Evergreen Gardens.